This video is sponsored by Valeton. Hi there, Perfecto Castro here and welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Okay, you asked for it and I am very happy to deliver. This tiny little thing right here has taken the entire guitar world by storm this 2025. And in this video, I'm going to answer a lot of your burning questions. Let's go. Okay, so if you've been out of touch and have not heard of the Valeton GP-5, then here is a quick rundown. At the moment, the GP-5 is the tiniest full-featured multi-effects for guitar and bass available right now. As already mentioned, this very small box houses a full-featured multi-effects. It can have up to 10 effects blocks that you can, rearrange however you see fit. It has onboard amp models and cabinet IRs. It's also able to convert NAM profiles, neural amp model profiles. That way you can load whatever amp you want into this minuscule thing. It has tons of effects, pretty much anything that you'll ever need. It has a very nice tuner display. It has several foot switch functions, from scrolling through different presets to control mode, where you can toggle different effects blocks on and off. And if that's not enough, the Valeton GP-5 also has a multi-function USB-C port, which lets you use it as an audio interface for either your DAW, your computer, your phone, your iPad, or even these, DJI pocket cameras. The USB-C port also receives MIDI continuous control commands. That way you can use your GP-5 as the brain of your multi-effects rig and pair it with an external MIDI foot controller. That way you have access to all the effects in, I can't say it enough, tiny little thing. And finally, the USB-C port also allows the GP-5 to be powered by bus power. So right now my MacBook is powering the GP-5 via, USB bus power. Now all these features are pretty common with most multi-effects nowadays. However, what sets the GP-5 apart is that you get all of these for the very low price of $79.99 US dollars at the time of this video. Yeah. Now I've gotten a lot of requests to check this pedal out, so thank you very much Valeton for sending this GP-5 my way and for sponsoring this video. I will have all the relevant links in the video description, so please use these links to go gear shopping and help us keep making these videos for everybody to enjoy. Thank you so much. To help me with this video, I posted it on Facebook asking for all your burning questions about the Valeton GP-5. And I also asked you guys to post your Valeton GP-5 rigs to feature in this video. So before I get to answering your questions, I'm going to jam a little bit, show off some of the tones that I dialed on the GP-5. And in between, I'll have Emmanuel, my editor, cut in pictures of your Valeton GP-5 rigs. Enjoy. Okay, first question from Vince Norby Farinas. What are the capabilities of the pedal alone? Okay, so I went through all the specs, so those are all the capabilities. For me personally, I would use this as a Swiss Army knife type of pedal. Now, all the tones I used in the Jam are purely Valeton GP-5. So my first preset is called Clean Drive, and I have the GP-5 in control mode. Okay, so let me show you what's going on via the app. So first block is the noise reduction, but I have it set to a fairly low threshold since I have both clean and drive in the same preset. Then the pre-effects block is a compressor for the clean sound. And then that goes into a modulation, which is an analog chorus. And then I'm using the snap tone block, which is the NAM or neural amp model player. Now for the profile, I used the SUP Dual, SUP Dual. So I guess, I don't know, Super Reverb, Dual Showman, it has that sound. And the neat part about the Snaptone is it's got both amp and cab already. Now, one thing to mention is that when you're using the Snaptone block, the amp and cab blocks are disabled. So you can't use all three at once. It's either or. Then rounding out the preset, I have a ping pong delay and a hall reverb. Now to go from clean to dirty, here is what's happening. Press the button. So basically, I am swapping the Snaptone block with the amp and cab blocks. And for the amp, I am using, UK 800, JCM 800 style amp. And for the cab, I'm using a greenback style 4x12. And let me show you the patch settings for the control. So for the control settings, I have amp, cab, and NS selected. And that's where the switch is happening. Now, for me personally, this is how I get the most out of the GP-5 without resorting to, external controllers and other stuff. Now, somewhere during that jam, there was a preset change. And even though I don't have any other stuff, controlling the GP-5, I do have it connected to Logic Pro on my MacBook. And that's how I'm sending the preset change to the Valeton GP-5. So let's take a look at Logic right here. I have a MIDI track, and let me show you the automation. And there it is right there. So this track is sending MIDI continuous control or MIDI CC numbers to the Valeton GP-5 via USB-C. So for the first 16 measures of the jam, I am on preset number 53. See that? 53 on the GP-5 and 53 here on Logic. And then from measure 17 onwards, I go to preset 52. So if I click here, see 53, 52, 53, 52. There you go. This just makes sense since I'm also using the GP-5 as my guitar audio interface to record to this audio track right here. Okay, the next question is from Frank Baranda Fletchero. I want to know if there's any latency when you're changing patches, especially with a MIDI switch. So to answer that, yes, there is a quick gap between sounds when you change patches. So let me show you. Now let me show you that with two distorted sounds. So. And you can hear that in the jam as well during the preset change. Now, granted, the gap is very, very small. What makes it obvious is the lack of tails spillover when you're changing presets. So if you take a look at the delay block, you can see that there is a trail option, right? However, this trail option only works within the preset. So for when you, let's say, turn the delay block on and off. Like that. But when you change presets, the delay and reverb tails also get cut off. So. See that? Yeah, so you could probably hide this gap if you have a separate delay or reverb pedal coming after the GP-5. Okay, so for this next part, I'm gonna answer 2 questions at once because it's the same topic. From Monra, the pitch shifting, and from Egay Rosal, who's asking if there's a momentary stomp capability for pitch dive bomb effects. Okay, first off, there is no momentary stomp capability. The foot switch modes are preset scrolling, tuner or pedal on and off, and control, or basically a scene mode. So yeah, no whammy and no dive bombs. Now, as for pitch shifting, there is a pitch option in the pre-block. And this effect is similar to the Electro-Harmonix pitchfork, where you get an upper octave and a lower octave, along with your dry signal. And this is how that sounds. Now you can also use this to transpose to, let's say, half step down. Just look at the settings on the screen, and this is how that sounds. Now I do feel that the pitch shifted tone has some artifacts and it's a little fake feeling, but in a pinch, in a gig, to save your tuning, it's fine. Okay, next question from Samuel Fianza. I want to know if there are parallel settings. For example, left out with IR, then right out without IR. No. Yeah, so as you can see, the effects blocks only have, one chain going. There's no parallel, option. And looking at the global settings, there is a no cab mode, which disables all the cab IRs going out of the output. However, you can't select, which output is the no cab version. Yeah, so it's both or nothing. Okay, now we get to the final question from Seth Gumban. Is it worth to add on my pedal board? Maybe. Now, I feel that this is a loaded question because on one hand, the GP-5 is inexpensive enough that given all the specs and capabilities, you can think that it's a no-brainer to just buy it and have it around, have it handy. Like I mentioned earlier, you can use it as a Swiss Army knife type of pedal on your pedal board. That way you have access to different effects that is not on your other pedals. Plus, there's the fun factor of rooting for the underdog and making it punch above its weight class. You can see that in the pedal boards I flashed on screen during the jam. It's interesting to see this $80 multi-effect alongside more boutique and more high-end pedals. I mean, there are guitar cables that actually cost more than the GP-5, so. Now, on the other side of the coin, if I remove the inexpensive price tag and the bang for the buck factor, it's not going to be my first choice. Now, for my purposes as a professional guitar player and video content creator, the GP-5 would work best as a quick grab-and-go rig that I could toss in my backpack with my Pocket 3. That way I can film quick, short-form clips, quick reels, quick demo ideas, and maybe even as a stealth rig for when I demo gear at trade shows and during factory visits. So on paper, it has everything I need. Decent sounding effects, OTG recording so I can bake good audio into my DJI Pocket 3 video. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that you can also stream your backing tracks via Bluetooth into the GP-5 using your phone or your iPad. And being able to use USB-C bus power will let me play the GP-5 off the grid without having to need to hunt for external power outlets and such. Which brings me to my next important point, because I did use the GP-5 during my Tyler Guitars factory visit. And unfortunately, it let me down. Prior to the Tyler Guitars visit, I tested everything here in my studio. In fact, the very first GP5 reel that I posted is that exact setup. Backing track, Bluetooth to the GP5, then GP5 to my Pocket 3, and you know, you can watch it on my Instagram. That worked great. However, it stopped working great when I was at the Tyler Guitars factory. The exact same rig down to the USB-C cable did not work while I was there, regardless how many times I plug and unplug the cable to get some power going. So to record me playing that $9,000 guitar into an $80 multi-effect, I had to pivot and use my phone. So I plugged the GP5 onto my phone, fired up GarageBand, loaded the backing track, and recorded everything that way. Minor inconvenience, but I got the job done. However, when I got back to the studio, I opened up the GarageBand file, and for some reason my performance was offset by several milliseconds. So I had to manually sync everything up just so that it doesn't sound terrible. Okay, feature editing perf here. I just need to interject and show you exactly what I mean, because the same thing happened as I was putting together all my assets for this actual video. So in the earlier jam, I recorded my tracks to Logic, right? And then I also have a secondary recorder, secondary DAW recording just, you know, the mixed down tracks, which is Luna. Okay, so this Luna is my failsafe. So let's go back to Logic. And as you can see, the GP5 track it started weird, and it does not start at the same time as, you know, the drums. The guitar doesn't start at the same time as the drums. I don't think I was late by this much, right? Let's check the backup recording. Yeah, I started right exactly on time. Now the weird part is, if I go to the end of this jam track and then I pull this event, you're gonna see there's this there's this extra bit over here. And what I can do is, let's say, shorten that and then tuck this to the very end. And now, yeah, so now everything is synced up. This is exactly what I needed to do to the jam that I recorded at the Tyler Guitars factory. So yeah, if you're gonna use the GP5 for recording, plug the physical outputs into another more reliable audio interface. Yep. Now the next letdown was when I was preparing for this video. Since you guys asked about MIDI control, I tried to get the GP5 to work with the MIDI controllers that I have on hand. Like this new Cat M4 MIDI controller from Judas.io, which has the USB-C output, as well as my trusty Exonic AirStep, which also has the USB-C output. Now, for some reason, I could not get these two to work with the GP5, regardless what setting I use. Now I can understand if one controller didn't work, it might be like an incompatibility thing. However, two makes it a little bit suspect, especially since I've found a couple of posts where they use their very own AirStep with the GP5, and you know, they managed to make it work without extra setup steps. So currently I'm waiting on my Chocolate Plus MIDI controller that a lot of you seem to be using with the GP5, and hopefully that does the trick. However, this GP5 responds to Logic's MIDI control commands, so that's what I ran with.
Change GP-5 language to N.
The other thing I wanted to point out was the language thing. So apparently there are two GP5 versions out there. The global version, like mine, which you can switch between English and Chinese. And there's the CDM version, or the Chinese domestic market version, which is only in Chinese. So if you were an early GP5 adopter and you bought it from an authorized reseller, then yes, you have the Chinese domestic version, which explains why you can't switch the language to English. However, I don't understand why that can't be fixed by a simple firmware update, especially since you already have a firmware version with both languages. But I'm not privy to behind the scenes, so there might be more to it than, what meets the eye. However, I did get a bunch of comments from you guys who have the CDM version that even though the pedal is stuck in the Chinese characters, if you download the Valeton suite in your country and it has the English version, you can tweak your settings in English, even though the pedal shows Chinese characters. However, if all of this is too much to handle, just contact who you bought it from and arrange for a refund, and then go to the Valeton website. As of filming this video, they have a fresh restock of the GP5, hopefully global version. Anyway, all of this is just a long-winded way of saying, if you can afford it, you can buy one and just use it for low-pressure applications. But if you're planning to use it for more serious work, I would save my money and put that towards a more robust unit. Well, there you have it. Those are some burning questions answered and my unfiltered views on the Valeton GP-5. Again, big thanks to Valeton for sponsoring this video and for giving me free reign in presenting the GP-5 to all you guys. As always, all the relevant links are in the video description, so drop by, check them out, use them to go gear shopping. Thank you. You do think you're gonna like this next video, so click to watch, then go grab your guitar and play something. You all know the drill. Practice makes perfecto. Cheers, guys.